So I drove MX3, I was the driver and the instigator of the MX3 category away from the under-19s to bring that age grouping down. And it took me 2 years, and you wouldn't believe the opposition. And everybody, all the experts in the sport who said it will never work, it was never going to work, it will fail. Most of the states didn't and haven't adopted it. And it's still selling out at every MX round since it was being brought in. Now some of the states are adopting it into their state championships.
So am I correct to assume the opposition was the states? Or?
States and some clubs, yeah.
Yeah.
But the states were, state managers were firmly opposed to it, and none of them introduced it in the first year. It's creeping in now. They're introducing MX3 across a number of states, but some of them are still not doing it.
Yeah. And what's like your personal raising for MX3 rather than under-19s?
So we're stuck with age groups that were there when I raced bikes. And I remember going to restricted licence holder, I still refer to that, RLH, which is junior motocross, 13 to under 16. I rode that when I was 13 years old.
Yep.
With kid motocross, all those events that were going on back then, and that's in the 70s.
Mm.
So I was on a twin shock bike with an underpipe, right? Bikes have evolved. Bikes are a lot better nowadays than they were back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Some of our rules are stuck back in the 70s, and then they wonder why we've never produced a motocross world champion. And that's because we're 20 years behind the world.
You believe that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Right? We've had some good goes at it, but have a look at other disciplines, enduro, road racing, speedway. We've been a country that's batted way above our average. Mm-hmm. Yet we're bound by these rules and regulations of the 60s and 70s. So I've had a crack at changing that, and bikes are better, safety equipment's better, coaching's better, the ability to access training and go to qualified people who are experts, being former riders, being nutritionists. The education's much better. Yet we're still focusing on having kids being able to get on a Pee-wee at 4 years old and still ride that Pee-wee at 7 years old. Mm. There's no progression there.
Yeah, gotcha.
So the sport has held itself back.
Yeah.
We did have a go at changing those junior age groups. We have done it in a lot of other disciplines. We're tickling around motocross right now. Motocross is our biggest discipline, so there's obviously a lot more opposition to change as well. Mm-hmm. MX3 came in because, first of all, a category needed to get down to under 18 where everybody still requires a guardian. You had this class that was from 16 years old where you're sort of becoming a senior to 19, but you still needed a guardian up down here, but you didn't need a guardian up here. So what we did, and you'll crept in over time, MX1 hasn't changed. It's still 16 years old, you go to MX1.
Yeah.
But MX2 was the same. So what we did was we pulled MX2 down 1 year to 15. Mm-hmm. We brought in MX3, which is 14 to under 18. And then you've got junior motocross at 13, right? Where you're on a 250. So you come out of your 85s, you're junior motocross at 13. If you're a good talent, you're an MX3 at 14. Mm-hmm. If you're an exceptional talent, you're in MX2 at 15. And if you're good enough, that happens every now and again, at 16 you'll be on a factory bike in MX1.
Yeah.
So your career path is there set. If you're not good enough, if you're a late developer, if you're not interested in getting there, you don't have to get out of that class.
Yeah, but right? You do have the opportunity to progress.
Opportunity to progress, opportunity to hold back a year or so.
Yeah.
Right? So, I think you're seeing the benefits of that now in the national motocross at the moment. MX3 is still oversold, MX2 is full at every round, and MX1 we're now, every year changes, and I know that there's financial elements to it, But we finished the season last year in Queensland with 2 rounds where MX1, 2 and 3 were all full gates.
Yeah, awesome.
That hasn't been done in 20 odd years.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it always has puzzled me that, like, the average age of MX2's probably been around, like, mid-20s sometimes, early 20s. But you look in America, it's like Hayden Deegan's winning or a Jet Lawrence or a...
Have a look at Grand Prix winners, right? And when you hear this guy of a teenager winning a Grand Prix, he didn't just step into Grand Prix and win. He's been winning in his home country for a few years before that. Some people say we've got to follow the World Championship rules. Well, hang on a minute. If we follow them, that means they're not going to ride an MX2 bike until they're 15.
Yeah.
We need to get them on. They need to learn race etiquette and race against solid competition in their home country before they go to MXGP.
Yeah.
World Championship organisers and promoters don't want us sending people to them that are not qualified to be there. They don't want people turning up not to qualify or to interfere with their race. The expectation is that when we endorse them to go racing internationally, that they at least have good racecraft and good speed and understand the sport.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I think it's a little known fact that Loretta Lynn's in America, you can ride a 450 at age, is it 13 or 12?
Yeah, it's quite low.
It's quite young, yeah.
It's quite low.
And then in Australia,
I'm not sure whether Australia would accept it.
Yeah, pretty well.
But you know, we've had a go at that, and we're going to have a little crack at some very entry level stuff in off-road motocross in the next 12 months.
Yep.
We've got a little pathway at the top. We've now got to try and start creating that at entry level.
Yeah.
And then I think the middle part will come along where the most opposition is. You know, people are invested. They've got their 65 and their 85 and their 125, and they don't want to see change. And so we've got to be a bit wary of how we go about change.
I just got to say, it's awesome to hear your passion for developing riders from a young age, because like most people would assume the CEO, you'd think, like you said before you come in, it's probably the last thing they're thinking about. They're looking at spreadsheets and balance sheets.